The Indiana Fever just pulled off something that nobody in the WNBA saw coming, and what happened in their locker room afterwards reveals exactly why this team is different. While half the league was writing them off after losing Caitlin Clark to injury, they went ahead and shocked the Las Vegas Aces in a playoff elimination game that had ESPN analysts eating their words. But here's what nobody's talking about. The real story isn't just that they won. It's how Kelsey Mitchell exposed a massive weakness in Vegas's defense that teams are already studying for 2025, and why Aaliyah Boston's post-game comments about playing without Clark might have just revealed the Fever's secret weapon. If you're riding with the Fever through thick and thin, smash that like button right now and comment "Fever Rising" to show where you stand. Because what you're about to hear changes everything about how we view this team's future. The scene at Gainbridge Fieldhouse was absolute chaos. 6 players in street clothes on the bench, including their franchise player Caitlin Clark, who's been dealing with that nagging ankle issue that's kept her sidelined. The Aces came in as heavy favorites, with every betting line pointing to Vegas closing out the series. Even the pregame shows were basically planning Vegas's next round matchups. But Kelsey Mitchell had other plans. And what she did in the third quarter had Becky Hammon burning a timeout she didn't even have. That technical foul became the turning point nobody expected. Mitchell dropped 25 points, but it wasn't just the scoring. It was how she systematically picked apart Chelsea Gray's defense, forcing switches that Vegas couldn't handle. Every time A'ja Wilson had to rotate over to help, Mitchell found the open player. Every time they stayed home on shooters, she attacked the rim. The MVP chants raining down from the crowd weren't just hometown bias. They were recognition of a player who's been overshadowed all season finally getting her moment. And when Lexie Hull, playing through a back injury that should have kept her on the bench, said afterwards that Mitchell plays like she's got something to prove every single night, you could feel the respect in that locker room. But that wasn't the whole story. Because while Mitchell was lighting up the scoreboard, Aaliyah Boston was doing something even more impressive. She held A'ja Wilson, the 2-time MVP who's been virtually unstoppable all season, to 31 points on 28 shots. That's efficiency numbers that would make any defense coordinator smile. Boston grabbed 14 rebounds, dished 5 assists, and scored 24 of her own. But here's the stat that really matters. Wilson only got to the free throw line 4 times. For a player who lives at the line, that's basically shutting down half her game. What happened next would shock everyone watching. Odyssey Sims, who had been basically invisible in Game 3, suddenly looked like the player Phoenix wished they still had. She carved up Vegas for 18 points on ridiculous efficiency, going 6 for 9 from the field. Every drive to the basket looked personal, like she had something to prove after all the criticism she'd taken online. The way she attacked Jackie Young off the dribble had Vegas's defense scrambling. And when she hit that pull-up 3 in the fourth quarter, you could see the Aces realize this wasn't going according to plan. The craziest part? Indiana did all this while missing half their roster. They've had 18 different players suit up this season because of injuries. They're starting hardship contract players who were literally playing overseas a month ago. Damaris Dantas is out. Grace Berger hasn't played in weeks. And of course, Caitlin Clark could only watch from the bench in street clothes, her ankle still not ready for playoff basketball. Yet somehow, this depleted roster made the defending champions look vulnerable. Here's where it gets really interesting. Sources close to the team are saying that playing without Clark actually forced Indiana to unlock something they hadn't fully explored before. Instead of relying on Clark's playmaking, they had to move the ball more, create by committee, and trust role players to step up. Lexie Hull grabbed 7 rebounds and had 4 steals despite barely being able to bend over because of her back. Katie Lou Samuelson hit timely threes when Vegas tried to pack the paint. Even the rookies who shouldn't have been playing meaningful playoff minutes looked composed. The reaction from Vegas was telling. Becky Hammon's post-game press conference was short, almost dismissive. But behind closed doors, reports are saying the Aces held a players-only meeting that went on for over an hour. Chelsea Gray was supposedly furious about the defensive breakdowns. A'ja Wilson had to be talked out of taking all the blame on herself. The confidence that defined this dynasty suddenly looked shaky, and now they have to go back home for a do-or-die Game 5. But here's what really has people talking. Aaliyah Boston's comments after the game weren't what you'd expect. Instead of the usual "we miss Caitlyn" narrative, she said something that raised eyebrows across the league. "We've learned how to win different ways," she said. "When everyone's healthy, we're one type of team. But this version of us? We're scrappy. We're unpredictable. We make teams adjust to us instead of the other way around." That's not something you say if you're just trying to survive. That's something you say when you've discovered a new identity. The numbers back it up, too. Indiana's assist numbers actually went up without Clark running point. Their defensive rating improved by 8 points per 100 possessions. They're forcing more turnovers, getting more offensive rebounds, and somehow shooting better from 3 as a team. It's like losing their best player forced everyone else to level up, and now Vegas has to prepare for a completely different team than the one they scouted all season. What makes this even more shocking is the context. The Fever haven't been to the WNBA Finals in over a decade. They were supposed to be in rebuilding mode, developing young talent while Clark learns the pro game. Instead, they're one win away from potentially the biggest upset in playoff history. And they're doing it with a roster that looks nothing like what they started the season with. The pressure has completely flipped now. Vegas was supposed to cruise to another championship. Their fans already had finals tickets booked. The narrative was written. Another dominant run for the dynasty. But now they're facing an elimination game at home against a team that has absolutely nothing to lose. Every possession will feel heavier. Every missed shot will echo louder. Every time out will carry more weight. That's not the position a defending champion wants to be in. Social media has been going absolutely crazy since the final buzzer. Fever fans who've been ridiculed all season for their optimism suddenly look prophetic. The Caitlin Clark needs more help crowd has gone silent, watching her teammates prove they're more than just supporting cast. Even Stephen A. Smith had to admit on his show that he completely underestimated this Indiana team. "They're playing with house money," he said, "but house money can still break the bank." The injury report makes this even more remarkable. Sophie Cunningham, who would normally be getting minutes in a game like this, hasn't even traveled with the team due to her knee issue. The Fever are literally running out of bodies, having to manage minutes carefully to avoid complete exhaustion. Yet somehow, they're the team that looked fresher in the fourth quarter. They're the team making the extra pass, diving for loose balls, and playing like their season depends on it, because it does. Vegas knows they're in trouble. You could see it in how they played the final minutes of Game 4. The usual swagger was gone, replaced by tight passes and forced shots. They're not used to this feeling, this pressure, this doubt creeping in. For 2 years, they've been the hunters. Now they're being hunted by a team that everyone counted out before the series even started. But here's the thing, nobody wants to admit. Indiana might actually be the better team right now. Not on paper, not in terms of talent, but in terms of hunger, chemistry, and belief. They've been through so much adversity this season that one more challenge just feels normal. They've learned to adapt, to survive, to find ways to win when logic says they shouldn't. That's dangerous in a one-game scenario. The Game 5 implications are massive. If Indiana pulls this off, it's not just an upset, it's a statement about the future of the WNBA. It proves that depth and teamwork can overcome star power. It shows that young teams can compete with established dynasties. Most importantly, it announces that the Fever, even without a healthy Caitlin Clark, are legitimate contenders right now. Not just in some distant future. What happens if Clark comes back healthy for the finals? What happens when you add an elite playmaker to a team that just proved it can beat champions without her? The rest of the league has to be watching this and getting nervous. Because if Indiana can do this undermanned, imagine what they'll do at full strength. The 2025 season suddenly looks wide open, with the Fever positioned as serious threats instead of feel-good stories. The chess match for Game 5 will be fascinating. Does Vegas stick with what got them here, trusting their talent advantage? Or do they completely change their approach, risking confusion and overthinking? Meanwhile, Indiana just has to be themselves, scrappy, relentless, and unafraid. They've already exceeded every expectation. They're playing with the freedom that comes from being doubted and proving everyone wrong. One thing's for certain, Gainbridge Fieldhouse proved that this Fever team has something special brewing. Whether it's the chemistry forged through adversity, the coaching adjustments that caught Vegas off guard, or simply the refusal to accept their supposed fate, Indiana has flipped the script on this entire playoffs. They're not just happy to be here anymore. They want more, and they've shown they're willing to fight for it. As Game 5 approaches, remember this moment. Remember when everyone said the Fever were done without Clark. Remember when the experts picked Vegas in 4. Remember when role players became heroes and a depleted roster made champions look mortal. Because what's happening in Indiana right now isn't just about one game or one series. It's about a franchise transformation happening in real time right before our eyes. If you think the Fever's magical run continues in Vegas, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss a second of this incredible story. Comment below with your Game 5 prediction. Can Indiana complete the impossible? Because after what we just witnessed, absolutely anything feels possible.